Hi everyone, it's Jerry. I have an instructive game to share with you from the 2024 Superbet Poland Rapid Blitz event. On the white end, Gukesh D, playing against Magnus Carlsen. This is a round 16 blitz game. Time controls 5+2. On board, a Pirc defense. Some attention to move order at this early stage. Carlsen on move 4 and 5 does not routinely fianchetto the bishop. We'll see reasons to delay this bishop's development soon enough. It's knight f6 on this move 4. Queen d2 follows, signaling the 150 attack, a very close relative of the Yugoslav attack in the Sicilian defense. Similar ideas. To exchange dark square bishops, castle queenside, and launch the h-pawn, going right for black's throat. We continue here with knight b to d7. Why the delay with the dark square bishop? Let's bring this one into focus. Suppose black fianchettos the bishop. Now when bishop h6 is played, what does black do? A, castle kingside to defend the bishop and welcome in opposite side's castle's position and a very dangerous white attack. Or B, invest tempo number 2 with this dark square bishop to exchange bishops. Black is on move here and has what? One piece developed. In the game, knight b to d7, in a way, says the following. Hey, if you want to play bishop h6, fine. Now, this guy only has to spend one tempo to exchange bishops. Black is on move here, and there are now what? 2 pieces developed. The translation. Carlsen, by delaying the development of his dark square bishop, potentially earns himself an extra move. That's one note, maybe a more on the surface note, a reason to delay the dark square bishop. Here's a deeper point. Carlsen has this idea to arrange his pieces on the queen side in a timely fashion. A pawn on b5 and a knight tucked right behind that pawn where they both coordinate on c4. Why am I saying timely? That will be revealed soon enough. We continue with f3, b5, h4, not met with h5. In fact, if you play h5, do know what you are signing up for as black. You are saying, I am okay tolerating a white knight on g5. What am I talking about? Well, if you play h5 here, there's knight h3, knight b6, and b4 black can swipe the knight. It drops in your house. From my own experience, this is quite the pesky piece. Pawn on h5, there's no h6 anymore. Not the easiest piece to extract. Carlsen's plan is to quickly, with knight b6, unmask his light square bishop. He's now in a spot to exchange bishop for knight once it goes there. Okay, this is, again, another reason to delay the dark square bishop development. He has more important things that he wants to do on the queen side. Okay, from here, bishop d3, h5 only now. Queenside castles. Very common in human versus human games, of course, to simply go queenside. Computer's a fan of cutting out c4 with b3, or even developing the other knight to e2. In this one, queenside castles it is. Follow up bishop g7, knight h3, swiped right away. Pawn takes. Now, this one certainly grabbed my attention. Kind of unusual to welcome double isolated pawns. What's the point? Well, to work with this half-open file, to set up some potential sacrifices on g6, an idea to also play f4, f5, breaking down black pawns that are on light squares. That would be great news for the unopposed bishop. Now, after this bishop for knight exchange, black only has the dark square bishop around. Let's construct pawns in the center on light. e6 is a step in the direction of establishing a strong pawn on d5. Gukesh replies here with f4, and what we're going to see is that after d5, the tension has to immediately resolve, and we drift towards a much more static environment, one where there's many fixed pawns. The computer's preference here is to keep this pawn around on f3, anticipating d5, and just hold that tension on e4. It prefers rook h to g1, meeting d5 with just sitting there, not pushing, locking it up, or even capturing, like bishop g5 here. Now, in the game, it is f4, which means this square now is that much more vulnerable. Carlsen continues with d5, and as white, you really can't maintain the tension here. You have to make a decision. Current count on e4 is that there are 2 attackers, 2 defenders, and right around the corner for black, there's this idea to kick one of the defenders and win out on e4 next. So white continues here with e5. The alternative, if you're capturing on d5, black recaptures with the knight, ensuring that there is this lockdown on f5. Black would not want to see a successful f5 pawn break here. In this game, e5 on board, the knight runs in reverse. So look at the static position. Many fixed pawns in this position. The only pawn you have to watch out for, really, playing on the black side, is this f4 pawn. Possible f5 pawn break here. We continue. Rook h to g1. Carlsen overlooked something here. By playing bishop f8, there's a sacrifice now on g6. Maybe he had only calculated bishop takes on g6. Gukesh plays in the best way, and that is rook takes g6. The rook is poison. If you take the rook, the bishop comes in with check, and then there's f5, opening up this diagonal for the bishop. This is crushing for white, ready to nearly give checkmate or even win the queen. The queen moves here. Check, only move, check, only move. There goes your rook. White's up a piece. Can't take the rook. In this game, knight c4 is played. That's considered second best. Carlsen's next turn, we do get to see what the best move is. He does pull off the best move in his next turn. But knight c4 it is here. Gukesh reacts with queen to g2, so this is where we have a significant shift in the evaluation. Computer wants to take the knight, allow now, pawn takes rook, and then return with the bishop, targeting the weak link. This will be white's focus from here. Okay, in this game, the queen goes to g2. Now, at a quick glance, you may think, isn't that a big blunder? Giving up the bishop, and on top of it, there's a fork. What does Gukesh have up his sleeve? Well, first of all, let's first revisit this capture. It's still poison. This time the queen would recapture. And after king here, f5. And if you take the bishop here before it could get to g5, you get mated. How about that? What is the move in this position? You can't take the rook. And you can't, well, you could take the bishop, but it's not going to be decisive, considered an equal position. This is the main one Gukesh had to calculate, though, clearly, before playing queen to g2. What's the story if Carlsen responds here with knight takes bishop? Black can play rook takes e6 check, peeling away the support of this g6 square. And then he can play bishop g6, king e7. This line I'm putting on is considered equal this position right here. Okay. A tough one to assess here. One thing I can say is that there may be a passed pawn soon that black has to deal with. An f5 break. The e pawn becomes passed. Tricky position ahead, to be sure. Carlsen doesn't bite, does not take the bishop. He does play the best move here, the move 15 best move, and that is knight d7 takes e5. This is a clearance sacrifice. Black has just opened up a square for the king, which now makes this capture on g6 possible. White continues here in the best way with rook g3. He has to withdraw the rook. If white captures the knight in either way, now you could go ahead and take this bishop, landing the fork, and allow this capture, because when there is a check on this square, no problem with the bishop or queen. The king gets to go to this square and he's fine. You would probably want to go with the queen in this position to get out of the fork, but still, black is better here. Black is up a rook if you've lost count. So, after this move, white has to run in reverse. Plays the best move. Gukesh is in time pressure at this stage. He has about 1 minute, and Carlsen still has 3. Very easy to play from this point on for Carlsen. He goes with a forcing line, eliminates both bishops. I was a little bit, kind of wondering about this decision here, because definitely a knight going into that f5 square is appealing. You could play it in either way. I guess he was looking for something very direct. Easy to predict what white's reply is going to be here. You got to recapture. And black is able to follow up in a very simple way. Not just developing the queen, but grabbing a pawn in the process, eyeing up f4, and he's ready to go. Tuck the king away on the queen side. Black is certainly for choice here. F-pawn is defended, bishop d6, king to b1. There was the threat to take with the bishop and land to pin the rook. White's out of that. And Carlsen castles here in this move 21. Does not take the bait. Capturing on f4, white would be winning. Rook f3, a white rook arrives on this very dangerous 7th rank. So he simply castles. Queen to c2. Black gets out of the pin on the c file. No knight takes b5 anymore. Follow up knight e2. Looking to now work on these light squares eventually. A knight on b3. Activate the rook. f5. Pawn takes pawn. And first the doubling. If the rook captures instead, follow up here, rook d7, just watching over the base point. 7th rank pawn. It's the doubling of the rooks, though. Rook d7. a4 met with a6. Prepared to just take towards the center, make sure that this guy has support. Very purposeful c6 pawn here. Rook takes pawn. Queen takes h3. And now rook takes pawn. This is defended. Don't have to go anywhere with that guy. Rook to c8. So both players have around a minute at this stage in the game, a minute or less. Follow-up is knight to c1. So this is where We go from, a slight advantage for Carlsen to winning knight to c1. What's the suggestion in the computer's eyes? It wants to keep both sets of rooks on. In a way, knight c1 is saying, I'm okay allowing this defensive rook to be exchanged for an active rook. Computer wants to keep both rooks on, playing rook 7 to f6. All right, in this game, we do get a pair of rooks off. Black welcomes a second rook exchange. In the end, what do we have here? Black is up not just any pawn, a very dangerous outside passed rook pawn. Bishop e7, rook goes away, and the queen is very fast to put pressure on more than one point in white's camp. Follow up knight b3, pawn takes. It's a sneaky move. The knight actually cannot hop into this square. If the knight goes to a5, the king can actually step up to tackle the knight. And what do you do here? How do you save the knight? You can't play queen takes pawn. The rook is going to fall. So this is not going to end well for Team White. The knight has to run in reverse eventually. First, rook e2 is played, queen g1, the knight blocks, and from here we just get ready to start pushing a pawn. Completely winning for black. Has perfect pieces, ready to exchange queens now, smashing through on b2. Queen d1, bishop d6, and we keep on pushing that passed pawn. Check on a3, and after just one more move, king a7, white has had enough. He throws in the towel. Coming up, rook b7, you can't even get here, you'd be dropping the knight. Let's just say black didn't take the knight in a situation like this, even getting the rooks off. Here's a plan for black, put the queen on g1 and push your pawn through. This is a perfect piece here. It's like having a connected passed pawn. But we don't go that far. After king to a7, white simply resigns. So, what'd you think of this one? Anyhow, feel free, as usual, to leave any feedback to this video in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed it, and maybe took a thing or two away. That's all for now. Take care. Bye.